This video lesson covers the concept of socialization. Let's first open up by talking about an incident of a 4-year-old named Boo whose mother let him dress up as Daphne from Scooby-Doo. Obviously, this does not fit into the gender norms of our society. When he showed up to school, other kids didn't make fun of him. They just thought he had a cool costume on. The mothers, however, have been socialized to know gender roles. And this mother who let her child dress up as Daphne got quite a bit of backlash, not only by the other mothers, but on the internet as well. This example shows us the significance of socialization in our everyday life. Socialization is the process of learning society's expectations of us. We internalize the values, beliefs, and norms of our society, and this in turn is something called socialization. Socialization is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop at 5 years old or 6 years old. People into their 80s and 90s continue to be socialized into different scenarios. After all, with new technology coming up every couple of years or so, we all have to be socialized to learn these new technologies. Whenever you enter a new phase in your life, you become socialized into a new area or job, or perhaps a particular role that you have to play, such as a college student. Everybody remembers their first day in college. You were maybe perhaps excited, a little bit nervous, and didn't quite know what to expect. You used the knowledge that you had previously to determine how you were going to act. This is just one of many examples of how socialization is a lifelong process. Socialization strikes a debate between the power of nature and the power of nurture. Now, sociologists believe that nurture has the major impact on someone's behavior, ways of looking at things, and their attitudes, their values, as well as their customs and norms. Biologists, on the other hand, believe that our genes, for the most part, control who we are. So the question is, are we products of our genetics and our biological processes, or are we products of our social environments? You're going to watch a video on a case by the name of Jeannie Wiley. Jeannie was a child who was raised in isolation for 13 years, which really lets us explore in a very poignant way the relationship between nature and nurture. Let's talk about agents of socialization. So, an agent of socialization is a particular arena or institution in society that teaches us how to become members of a particular group or in our society as a whole. Our families are the first agent of socialization we come across. Later on, we join our peers at some type of school, normally, unless you're homeschooled. There is also a very powerful agent of socialization known as the media. How many times have we been influenced to like something by the media or to think differently towards a particular topic because we saw it on TV, on the news, or in a movie? A total institution is a little bit different than the other institutions. A total institution controls almost every aspect of a person's behavior. Things like police academies, prisons, convents, and the armed forces are just a few examples of total institutions where people's behaviors and values are dictated by the institution. Like I mentioned, we go through many phases of socialization. This could be adult socialization, where we enter a new phase in our adult lives. This requires us to be socialized into a new environment. Resocialization, on the other hand, is when our values or beliefs or norms are challenged within a very different environment or when meeting someone very different from ourselves. Let's talk about Merton's role theory to help us think about how social interaction plays into socialization. A status is a recognizable social position that someone occupies. A status could be your job or a particular title that you obtain because of what you've done. So, for instance, a mother or a father is a status. A role refers to the duties or behaviors that are associated with that status. Role strain occurs when there are too many expectations that come with a particular status. So, for instance, motherhood can result in role strain. There are several expectations of someone who is a mother and many responsibilities that come with it. This may lead to a certain amount of stress in a mother who is having a hard time dealing with all of the different responsibilities and expectations that she has. Role conflict, on the other hand, is when two different statuses are conflicting with one another. So perhaps the mother is also an employee and at the same time a sister or a daughter. And she has all of these different roles conflicting with one another. She doesn't have time for all of them. This is an example of role conflict. A really important role that is often attached to individuals are gender roles. The gender roles are the expectations assumed to accompany one's status as either a male or a female. And as you saw, if we break from these gender roles, we often get some backlash. Let's take a look at a couple of theories of socialization. For Cooley, our self-identity is a back and forth interaction between us and our environment. We get feedback from our social environment and determine how we should act depending on the situation that we're in. When it comes to George Herbert Mead, he believed that our self-identity consists of an I and a me. The I is our creative sides, who are a little bit selfish and kind of only want to satisfy our own needs. Think of an artist who only wants to live in the moment and be able to create whatever their own heart desires without having to think about what anybody else cares or thinks about them. The me, on the other hand, understands that they have a particular role in society and that certain things are expected of them, and the me gives into these demands. So if you're on a bus and you're sitting down and you see an elderly person standing, the expectation of you is to give up your chair, your seat to that elderly person. And that's because you've learned the expectations of society. This is your me in action. If you've ever thought of life as sort of a performance, then you're thinking along the lines of Goffman's dramaturgical approach. For Goffman, our self-identities are a combination of all the performances that we give in front of people. Now, they don't have to be dishonest performances. When we want to show that we care, there's a particular way that we act. We base our actions on how we truly feel, but nonetheless, we need to give a particular performance to display that we're aware of how we're supposed to act. For instance, if you're in a church, we're typically quiet and very respectful. But the same person could be a party animal if put in a certain situation. Like Goffman says, we're a combination of all of these performances, and it isn't until we go backstage and that we can kind of and not have to perform anymore.